I remember seeing friends in high school play Monster Hunter games on their PSPs, or even seeing trailers for the first Monster Hunter game on Cinematheque, a video game cutscene / trailer focused show featured on G4 TV back when I was in middle school. What boy wouldn't be interested in hunting large monsters loosely based on real-life flora and fauna for the sake of collecting their parts to craft their respective armor and weapons? Killing lower threat monsters to build armor based on that monster's strength and features, preparing you to fight the next monster up the food chain in an attempt to craft its armor. It was always an interesting and cool prospect. Beginning my Monster Hunter journey with Monster Hunter World back in 2018, I immediately fell in love with the Monster Hunter series. The world was whimsical and filled with characters who almost never experience any emotion less positive than gleefulness and pure excitement for the next hunt. Cats, or palicos as they are called, take an almost anthropomorphic form, walking upright on hind legs and even speaking to the characters of the world, acting as companions akin to the characters you would see in Disney movies. Weapon choices that range from the cool yet grounded sword and shield to the over-the-top greatsword and anime action-inspired longsword. Monsters to hunt who creatively resemble real-life amphibians, birds, apes, canines, and even dinosaurs, to animals that are mythically inspired, like dragons or unicorns. The experience brought a young boy's dream of happily destroying creatures no mortal could possibly slay to life. Entering into Monster Hunter Wilds, my expectations were not as high as the soar of a roaring Rathalos, but there was a lot I wanted to see this second round as a Monster Hunter. As of writing this review, I am Hunter rank 111 and have over 100 hours into the game. Let's review everything I have experienced in that time. Starting with the story, it's hard to say that it's even worth discussing. If anything, the hand-holding of the story distracts from what makes the game fun, and even guides your attention away from elements of the game that are amazing. We'll touch on that a little bit later. The plot starts with a young boy named Nata, found by the Hunters Guild at the border of the, quote, Forbidden Lands, close quote. The Forbidden Lands were thought to be uninhabited, but Nata claims that is where he's from, and he was driven from his lands due to the attack of a monster referred to as the White Race. So you journey to these lands, find unknown civilizations of people with the goal of bringing Nata back to his village. Along the way, there is some typical, oh no, this monster is being aggressive towards us, go kill it. Or, oh no, this monster is being aggressive towards these people and their village, go kill it. And sometimes, oh no, this monster is acting strangely, go kill it. The narrative serves as a vehicle to introduce more monsters and to justify the reason to kill it. I know the creators pushing a fun-loving tone is hard to mix with a direct statement of, go kill that animal because it's fun. But that is what the game is. The acts you commit of absolutely ravaging ecosystems of their flora and fauna to make yourself more powerful goes directly against the mask this game is trying to wear, communicating to you through its characters the idea that this is all for some greater good. Killing these thousands of building-sized animals will help this ecosystem. I understand that in real life, wild boars in Texas are an issue, and killing thousands of these animals can actually be helpful, but this game kicks that narrative into overdrive with every animal found in every biome, and it just doesn't work. I understand the writers want to flesh out characters and the happy-go-lucky vibe all the characters within Monster Hunter exude, but the writers struggle to logically combine believable giddiness and endless optimism and positivity with the need to commit genocide on multiple species within multiple ecosystems. It might seem this is a tangent from the narrative, but every narrative in Monster Hunter follows this trope, and they haven't found a sweet spot yet of having it mesh together perfectly. As I mentioned earlier, the narrative also acts as a distraction from elements of the game's design, almost assisting in your ignorance on how the game's structure and map is actually laid out. The game will use the narrative to take you to all the different areas in the game. The different biomes or maps vary drastically in design and feel, as well as the monsters that reside within the areas for you to hunt. And while the game narratively justifies you going from one area to another, cutscenes play in between your traversal, making you believe the world of Monster Hunter Wilds is not connected, but in fact separate, having multiple maps you just load into like in Monster Hunter World. But this isn't true. All maps in Monster Hunter World are connected and can be traveled to and through with no loading screens or transitions if you desire. Yes, the pathways do act as invisible loading screens, but they are short and get you to these new areas quickly and efficiently. Again, the narrative makes you think the entire world design is different than it actually is, as opposed to showing you that traversal between these maps and biomes is achievable. The story is also fluffed with way too many moments of characters talking, having exposition diarrhea. These moments are almost impossible to follow along with and care for, As a story lover, and of games filled with dialogue options and depth of character interactions, this game does the frequency of dialogue but almost never has the quality. Monster Hunter community members almost unanimously agree these games are not played for the story, and if that is true, the writers need to be presenting the narrative justification for hunting monsters in a more streamlined and digestible way. Overall, the story is a distraction and in some ways a diversion from actually playing the game and learning its systems, designs, and mechanics. The end game, and even the game as a whole for that matter, truly begins when the 10 to 15 hour story is finished. The story can be good, it is possible, but the writers and developers did not succeed in cultivating an interesting and cohesive narrative that also was presented in a way that added to the overall experience of this game. Let's discuss the mechanics you'll be interacting with through your time in Monster Hunter Wilds. This will be separated into categories of equipment and hunts. Starting with equipment, this is arguably where the game shines the brightest. While monster hunts are fun and the design of the terrors you are assigned to eliminate are creative and epic, the equipment is your reward for these hunts. Weapon choice is what you start to build your entire experience around. Weapons are varied from among 14 different choices, and almost all play completely different and have different focuses. While some weapons are slow and devastating, others are methodical and require timing, and others focus on dishing out rapid attacks in a barrage of swipes. Whether you want to overwhelm your target with 1,000 cuts, or focus power into fewer attacks that open wounds in the monster, creating opportunities for massive damage, there is lots to explore and experiment with. Weapons as well as armor take on the appearance of the materials used from the respective monsters, but though changes aren't only cosmetic, they also take on the attributes of the monster whose parts were used. Using parts from a monster that is resistant to cold or does ice damage, your weapon will deal ice damage. On the same token, monsters having a weakness to ice will be the ideal time to use a weapon that deals ice damage. Comparable to the strengths and weaknesses found in Pokemon types, it's all self-explanatory, and if you are ever in need of a refresher on what monsters do or don't like specific elements or attributes, your Monster Field Guide acts as a Pokédex, reminding you of all the ways monsters deal damage and what they are weak to. This encourages the use of multiple damage types, as there are monsters that have many resistances and weaknesses. This also tends to build an appreciation for specific monsters, as you begin to enjoy the appearance and characteristics of weapons and armor crafted from using the respective monster parts. While higher level monsters, or monsters found in the endgame, do allow for crafting of stronger armors, there are builds worth experimenting with and still plenty of variety for endgame builds. Don't like the appearance of your outfitted armor or simply want a cosmetic change? Owning an armor part allows the opportunity for you to customize your currently equipped armor with the appearance of owned armor pieces. Or in other words, don't like the way your armor looks but you like the perks and the protection it provides? Simply craft another armor piece you do like the look of, and you can change the armor appearance of what you are wearing to match the appearance of the armor owned that's in your stash. Colors of your armor can also be changed, allowing for additional appearance and customization options. Armors are further enhanced through decorations. Really, these are just gems that alter, enhance, and add perks and other benefits to your armor and weapons, allowing for more armor, resistance to elements, resistance to stun, sleep, or other ailments may be affected by. Acquiring the build you want will take time, and you will hunt a lot of monsters as you craft the armor and weapons desired, but the grind is never unreasonable or unfair. Where Monster Hunter has refined its gameplay loop more than most other series is in its loop of hunt, loot, craft, and repeat. The game also encourages hunting multiple monsters multiple times, and in the pursuit of your perfect build, learn the monster's attack patterns and unique movements. Armor can also be upgraded with armor spheres. While armor sets can usually be crafted after a few hunts of your targeted monster, you can still incrementally improve and refine your build through grinding for your desired build's decorations, armor spheres, and more. While the environments will be brought up again when discussing hunts, it is worth mentioning that aside from all the armor and weapons you have to pursue, the environment is littered with bugs, plants, mushrooms, and other loot used to craft potions and other items, allowing to further customize and add temporary buffs to your build. The equipment at your disposal in Monster Hunter Wilds is vast and allows for many builds and experimentation. While min and maxing is something worth pursuing, it is not necessary to be an effective teammate during any hunt. Speaking of hunts, let's focus on those. Hunts focus on what monsters you want to track down and either kill or capture. While most hunts end in the elimination of your target, capturing is a viable option many hunters prefer. While your weapon choice, hunt or capture choice, and even map choice is all relevant, what is most important is your choice in monster, relating to a grinding for monster parts to pursue specific builds when talking about your equipment. Monsters are considered depending on what loot might be available and what experience or difficulty you might want to have. While the story does present to you which monsters are stronger as you progress through the narrative, the game doesn't open up the option for you to customize your hunts and really start hunting until the end game, or in other words, after the main story is completed. Hunting monsters through the world and through the investigations option is where you're going to spend most time hunting the monsters throughout Monster Hunter Wilds. Investigations are you selecting what monsters are available in the biome at the current time that you're playing the game, as the biomes do change in season or events or whatever might be happening in the biome, which also inherently and naturally changes the monsters available for you to hunt in those biomes. This also creates a repeatable mission for you to grind multiple times when you make an investigation and save it for later. So aside from monster parts acquired directly from carving the corpse of your vanquished monster, completing a mission or investigation also rewards armor spheres, crafting items, decorations, and more. These end of mission items vary based on monster difficulty and few other factors. Like I mentioned before, some monsters you will hunt more than others, and in doing so, will begin to develop a sense of what monsters you really enjoy fighting against or hunting, and which ones make you out to be the prey. As you can imagine, all monsters are unique and move, attack, and play differently. Simply put, fighting the water-based Leviathan Uthduna will be a much different fight than those against a fire-breathing T-Rex chicken hybrid called the Quemetris. Learning the characteristics and nature of these creatures not only rewards you with faster methods to obtain loot, but also creates a sense of personal progression. Similar to the fights a player may have with bosses in Elden Ring, or overcoming difficult shooting arenas in Doom Eternal, the feeling of, quote, getting good, close quote, is achieved with every fight. Monsters will also have tempered versions, which simply put means they are more aggressive, more erratic, and all around stronger. Of course, the higher difficulty comes with better loot. While some monsters become little to no threat as you progress, other monsters will consistently test your skill and keep you on edge during the hunt. Environments also play into hunt. Trees will have vines for you to utilize against monsters, ensnaring them for a short time so you can lay on some focused attacks while they struggle to escape. Glowing fireflies can be interacted with or attacked to create a flash bright enough to blind most monsters temporarily. And weakened structures can be shot or pulled down with your grapple hook to tumble onto a target, causing mass damage and in many cases, sending the monster reeling for a short attack opportunity. It stands to reason that a game called Monster Hunter has found a way to make hunting monsters not only fun, but an experience players will want to do over and over and over again. Whether you are grinding for loot to make another variation of your favorite weapon type, hunting with friends for the thrill of the hunt, or even gathering resources to satisfy the gamer need to hoard loot, Monster Hunter Wilds' hunt experience will keep you entertained well past the end of the main story. This review, nor any other real review, could be complete without feedback as to where the game is falling short and what can be done to remedy that. And while I did criticize some elements of the game, namely the story, criticism in my view is actually more important than praise in almost all cases of media. While Monster Hunter Wilds progresses in ways that are expected for a next-gen console and new iteration in a series, there is no innovation or changes that show the creators are pushing for anything other than that which has been displayed before, but with mild improvements. As I had mentioned, there are no additional weapons to use. The wound system has been added to the game, and the ability to exploit those wounds, as well as some mild improvements to the current weapon types, have been made. Having the same weapon choices since the last two releases isn't necessarily a good thing. Wilds also has 28 huntable monsters on release, which feels restrictive and painful coming from Monster Hunter World, where on release the game had 29 monsters to hunt, and through its life and DLC releases, notably Iceborne, totaled in about 50 monsters available for you to hunt. The temptation to go back to Monster Hunter World to hunt monsters is stronger now after playing Monster Hunter Wilds, as the experience I would have in World would be so similar, but with more hunting options. Yes, World does not run at the smoothness of Wilds with all of its current gen upgrades, but it's hard to praise those upgrades as they are minimal, and unfortunately for PC players, preventing them in many cases from enjoying the game anyway. The environments in some ways are less creative than that of World, and in the cases of Oilwell Basin, Ice Shard Cliffs, and the ruins of Wyveria, they have a single color palette that prevents me from even being able to distinguish those locations apart in my mind. Charcoal, oil color, dark gray, and dark blue and dark gray for these three maps is boring and drab. Perhaps the biggest crime this game commits, in terms of no real innovation, is the lack of creativity and missed opportunity to add systems that loot-based games have had implemented for years now as a standard practice, and that is raids or raid-like content. I have reached max power in this game and there is nothing for me to do or grind towards other than hunting monsters I've hunted 30 or more times already. It is not a good practice for us consumers to, quote, give it a pass, close quote, to a game that does nothing to build upon what has come before. I've been there, I've done that, I've played this game already by playing Monster Hunter World. The only difference is that the maps are mildly bigger and the graphics are mildly better. Wilds seems like a lazy DLC of World, just with a new coat of paint. I put 100 hours into this game, I must like it, and I do. Monster Hunter does fulfill the imaginative, childlike fancy of bonking dinos so I can go Buffalo Bill on their body nuggets. Monster hunting is the focus of the game, and that experience is so fun and satisfying. It is unfortunate, however, to see the narrative not just be bad, but in many cases detract from the overall experience. It's unfortunate to have an overall product so similar to the previous iterations with no mentionable quality of life or engine improvements aside from what should be considered standard for next-gen upgrades. The game is so fun and the formula is so well established, but it's delivered in a package that you can feel is almost getting tiresome. With many games and things in life competing for my time, I cannot shake the feeling that this game seems to have earned 100 hours of my time because, as of this game's release, there simply isn't much competition for my time. The game will get better as more monsters are huntable in updates, and when the inevitable Iceborne comparable DLC is released, adding new life to the game. This game will be another enjoyable grindfest at that time. With all that being said, Monster Hunter Wilds gets a 7.5 out of 10. Thank you so much for your time and for enjoying my video. I'm glad you made it all the way through and sincerely do appreciate it. Feel free to share your ideas and your thoughts on my review as well as Monster Hunter Wilds in the comments section down below. It does also support my channel if you choose to like the video, subscribe to my channel, or, again, just comment down below. This has been Pillager, Pillager Ascended, and I'll talk to you guys next time.